So here recently, I've been watching season 2 of The House of David on Prime, and what I noticed was that the story unfolding is pretty accurate to how it is in the Bible. There's some differences. They take some, liberties here and there to kind of maybe fill in some of the gaps that are in the biblical story. Um, but I've kind of been using the House of David as a means to do like a Bible study. Like I've been following along in my Bible, in First, Second Samuel, and First, Second Kings, and so forth. I've been following along as I'm watching these episodes. And one thing that I noticed in the Bible was at the point when David goes before King Saul to say, "Hey, I'll fight Goliath." Right? When he goes before him, he says to King Saul, "Your servant, me, I used to tend my father's sheep. I used to be a shepherd." And look, I've been reading the Bible. I've been saved since I was 8 years old. I've been reading the Bible since I was a little kid. And I had never noticed that. It's amazing how you could be reading the Bible and God will show you, new things. I never noticed that he said to King Saul, "I used to be a shepherd." I had always thought that he was still a shepherd up until the point of after he killed Goliath. Then he got his notoriety, he became this great warrior, and so forth. And then obviously at that point he was no longer a shepherd, but I had always thought he was a shepherd. Still, at the point when he went to Saul, King Saul, and said, "I can fight this guy." But no, he was no longer a shepherd. And I don't know why that just struck me so much, because that's how he started. He started as a shepherd. But then, remember, King Saul asked him to come and play the harp when he was being tormented by those evil spirits. King, the soon to be King David would play the harp, and the evil spirits would go away. And it's like, it reminded me of that. So, in that moment where he was brought before the king to play the harp, to help him and to soothe him, that's when he stopped being a shepherd. So I had always thought he was still a shepherd up to the point where he killed Goliath, but no, he stopped being a shepherd the moment he came to play his harp for King Saul. So already in little baby steps, God was moving him up and elevating him from a lowly, humble shepherd into something more. And so the same is true for us. The things that God has laid on our hearts to do, the purposes and plans that He has for us, He will move us toward those things. We'll start here, but a time will come when we're no longer what we once were. And he was no longer a shepherd at the time that he requested to fight Goliath. Pretty interesting.